We are now live.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. Good afternoon and welcome to the October 26th, 2022 City of Asheville Multimodal Transportation Commission meeting. My name is Dennis and I am the current chair of our group. Our meetings continue to be held virtually, but there are many ways for interested parties to participate in this gathering. The City of Asheville's engagement hub, which includes a variety of links and phone numbers, can be found on the Multimodal Transportation Commission page of the City of Asheville's website. Visiting this page is the best way to take part in our virtual meetings. Members, staff, and guests, please remember to keep your microphones muted at all times when you're not speaking so we can minimize feedback and other background noise. I'd like to now welcome our commission members. Members, when I call your name, please introduce yourself and let us know what interest you represent. First off is Randy Warren.
I'm Randy Warren, the Vice Chair of Multimodal, and I am also on the Bike Fed Task Force.
Hey, Randy. Kenny Armstrong.
Hey, Kenny here. I am also on the Greenway Committee.
Hey, Kenny. Pat Katz.
I am at large, and I'm representing my husband, who's a big bicyclist.
Thanks, Pat. Maggie is unable to join us today. She had a prior commitment. Bill Loftus.
I'm Bill here, and I'm on the Transit Committee.
Hey, Bill. Leanna Joyner.
Leanna Joyner here, representing the Greenway Committee.
Hey, Leanna. Jack Engelman. Jack, I don't think we're hearing you.
There we go. Sorry. Jack Eigelman, an at-large member.
Hey, Jack. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Joe Archibald.
Joe sent us a message saying that he had some work come up. He wasn't going to be able to join us today.
All righty. Thank you. Elizabeth Likas.
Hi, yeah, I'm Elizabeth Likas, and I am the liaison from the Neighborhood Advisory Council.
Excellent. Hello, Elizabeth. Kim Rooney. Kim has a schedule conflict with some students right now, but she will be taking our recordings in post-meeting and providing follow-up as needed. Going into the first order of business, Jessica, did you want to start right off the top?
No, that's okay, Dennis. If you want to do the agenda item,
Okay.
Or did you already do that?
No, haven't yet.
Okay.
We'll go into the first item is the review and approval of today's agenda. Are there any? Can I get a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Thank you, Randy. And a second, Pat? I think that's a second. Any comments or questions on today's agenda? All right, without comment or question, we'll do a quick roll call vote. Randy Warren. Kenny Armstrong.
Aye.
Yes, I as well.
Pat Katz.
Aye.
Bill Loftus.
Aye.
Leanna Joyner. And Jack Eigelman.
Aye.
All right, moving right along. Item 2 is the review and approval of the August 24, 2022 minutes. Can I get a motion to approve? That's my motion. Second.
To approve.
Second.
Thank you, Kenny. Any comments or questions on our minutes from August 24th? Without comment, go into a roll call. Randy Warren.
Aye.
Kenny Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Katz.
Aye.
Bill Loftus.
Aye.
Leanna Joyner.
Aye.
And Jack Eigelman.
Aye.
Excellent. Motion approves. Next item is do we have any public comment today?
Dennis, I just wanted to do this real quick during public comment instead of waiting till staff updates later on.
Sure.
But I wanted to make sure that I introduce our new transit planning manager. Some of you probably met her last month at the joint meeting with the transit committee, and her name is Amber Wagner, and she is joining us remotely for a little bit until she has to go do some very important transit stuff today. But we're very, very happy to have her, and so you guys will see her occasionally. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that last night at the city council meeting, the city council unanimously adopted and approved the GAP plans. So the Greenway plan, the ADA transition plan, and the pedestrian plan. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that that happened, and to congratulate Lucy in particular for all the hard work that she has done over the last 3 years, as well as our other staff that was involved. You guys were heavily involved, and so we appreciate that. And just wanted to let you know that we are adopted and now we are into action. So thank you.
Outstanding. Well, that's a great way to start off a meeting. 2 great pieces of information. That gap, it was a lot of discussion, so it's awesome to see that it's now moving on to its real life, becoming alive for us. Okay. Any other public comments?
No, sir. No public comments received.
Thank you very much. So for our first order of new business, we're going to welcome our new member, Jack Eigelman. Jack is an at-large member with us. He's taking over for Michael's seat. Welcome, Jack. You want to tell us a little bit about you and what gave you an interest in joining us on the MMTC?
Yeah, thanks, Dennis, and thanks everyone for letting me join in. I guess the real quick bio, I've been a longtime Asheville resident since the mid-90s. I live in West Asheville, have 2 teenage boys, my wife and I, and I teach economics at Warren Wilson, and wear a few other hats, but I think my interest is, over the last 10 years, I've been involved with the Friends of Hominy Creek Greenway. I'm a founding trustee of the organization and am pretty active in the stewardship of the Greenway. So greenways are a big interest of mine, but I'm also interested in broader transportation issues, that are present here in Asheville. So I have a deep interest in things beyond greenways, but I'm also really interested in, thinking about how to engage communities successfully in, advocating for the things that they need, whether that's public transportation, greenways, other pedestrian infrastructure. So anyway, that's a quick. I'm also helped establish a long-time retail business in Asheville, second year. So I've been involved a little bit in the business end of things in town as well, but just really excited to be able to participate on a broader scale than I have been.
Excellent. Well, welcome aboard. We're excited to have you and look forward to your active participation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is determination of whether the MMTC meetings for the next 12 months will be in person or remote. Jessica.
Thank you. So we have been asked by the city clerk's office and the boards and commissions committee to this month have each of our commissions, boards, committees, all of them, to decide whether or not they would like to continue meeting in person or remote. Unfortunately, we don't have a hybrid option in place at the moment. I know that that is something that is being worked on, but we're being asked to essentially make a decision that would be for the next year, and that's just to, I guess, ensure some consistency and not, go back and forth too much until the year is over. But anyway, so it's up to you guys what you would prefer. I think obviously there's been pros and cons to both ways, but ultimately it is up to you guys to decide. And so we would need an action taken today to make that decision. And again, that would be for the next year or so.
Thanks, Jessica. All right, any thoughts or opinions?
You probably already heard me say how much I love the remote. I would probably have missed 3 or 4 meetings this year if it hadn't been for the remote. So I'm all for remote. Thanks.
All righty.
Jessica, did I hear you say we have to pick one? We can't alternate? Because my thought was, why don't we alternate, have 2 in person, 1 remote, or, every other meeting is remote, just so we can accommodate as many people as possible.
Yeah, the policy that's linked in the agenda, they're asking for us to choose one or the other at this time, which I think makes sense from a staff perspective. And it's not to say that this policy won't change sometime in the future, but right now they're wanting to just have a consistent decision by each board or commission which way do they want to go for now, and not go back and forth between each.
Is there a staff perspective? Is it easier to handle remote meetings? I feel like a lot of you all work from home as well, so I was curious to hear your take on it.
I think everybody's kind of got their personal thing. I mean, personally, I love the remote working, and our staff is mostly remote at this time. Although they do have to be there to do these meetings in person. I mean, virtually and in person. I think that I think we probably would have like Patricia's saying, we'd probably have some more issues with attendance if we didn't have the remote option. So personally, I would vote for remote. The Transit Committee did decide last week that they're going to stick with remote for now for the year. Joe emailed earlier to say that he was for going back to in-person meetings. So it's definitely a mixed bag.
Randy?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value to in-person meetings in terms of being able to have better dialogue and discussion and that kind of thing. But at the same time, if people can't make it to all the meetings, then maybe, remote is better. And I'll just say, after the meeting we had in August, I received multiple emails from people who watched the meeting on YouTube and wanted to comment on the things that I commented on. And so there are people watching when we record and we put it on YouTube. And so that doesn't happen if we're in person. So for me, although I really like the in-person meeting and it gives a lot of value to that, I think that there's more benefit right now to being remote than there's being in person.
Thanks, Randy. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I just have some questions trying to understand maybe how it worked before when it was in person, or the barriers. Were they held? I don't know where they were held, or what the parking situation was. I'm actually thinking logistics. I love in person and would love to be in person, and if there's a lot of things that keep people from coming, I'm fine with staying remote. Hey.
So prior to the pandemic, we were meeting in City Hall. In the first floor, there's a small, well, it's smaller than council chambers, but it's a pretty large public meeting space. And when we did that, we did not have any mechanism for streaming those meetings or receiving any public comment other than if someone came to the meeting and showed up. I know that during the pandemic, they made some technology improvements, but it was mostly to the audio visual. And I don't believe that there's yet been I know that they're working on trying to create a method for hybrid. And it's been challenging, I think, from the public comment perspective, where trying to have in-person live comments as well as phone-in live comments and have streaming. And to be honest, I don't totally understand all the technology barriers that are causing us not to be able to do a hybrid meeting. But I know that that's the ultimate goal. It's just taking time and money, I think. And, I would say that some people, I think, don't feel comfortable coming to City Hall or can't get to City Hall. I know that can be a barrier for folks. I also know that computer access can be a barrier. So, again, it's kind of like there's pros and cons to both sides. And I have a hard time with it myself, knowing what the right thing to do is.
Jack?
Yeah, Randy mentioned, and I agree with Randy. It is, as a teacher as well, it's so much better to be in person. The dialogue is better. That's pretty obvious. But I'm wondering, are there any other advantages that I might be missing to being in person, other than, the fact that we can dialogue in person? And, I'm not sure what the advantages might otherwise be relative to the downsides.
Jack, the Greenway Committee goes out for beers afterwards. It's kind of an advantage.
Yes, good point.
Yeah, I kind of see it as, I agree with you, Jack. I feel like my sense is that a group is stronger when we're meeting face to face and spending that time together. I think it's just something that we can do. But I also understand there's a great deal of convenience, and just, to Elizabeth's point about time, you can show up 30 minutes before rather than, getting downtown and parking and getting to them, so there's a lot more that's involved. It's a larger commitment. So I like this idea of the flexibility. And so I would, I think I can lean toward the continuing the virtual, so long as, so we make an effort to do something in person, like that the meeting that we did last month when we went through the transit. I just felt like it was really good for us to see each other. There's so many of you folks that I've never met in person. And it's just, I think it's a very good thing for this group. I think we are more productive and a healthier group if we, spend some time in person together. But I also feel like the direction that we need to go probably is staying virtual. Bill?
Jack, my input on your question, what's the value, is you gain a sense of trust, and you gain a sense of understanding the edges of something when you're in person with somebody rather than over the virtual meeting ground. So in my 2 cents, those are the 2 value points that you get. I'm disappointed there's not a hybrid option. I think we should push for them to create a hybrid option, but until that happens, I value the time aspect of virtual, so I'll vote for virtual.
Leanna? Sorry, Kenny.
No. Go ahead, Leanna.
I was just going to offer, I was at a hybrid meeting this past weekend in New Jersey, and we used an OWL. They're a little expensive, but they work quite well for a group size of up to 20, 25 people in person, which I think far exceeds the use case that we would have for people in person. And it works really well to connect to people outside. So there's easy technology that's, plug and play with the computer at a host on site. And, it's certainly not insurmountable. I agree that hybrid right now or virtual right now seems like an appropriate approach with some field site visit meetings when it makes sense, so that we can have that personal connection.
Thanks. Kenny, did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to agree with that, with the sentiment that we should stay virtual for now and kind of plan on in-person meetings, quarterly or whatever possible, and then hope that the city can figure out the hybrid situation. So I'm happy to make a motion in that regard if we're
Please.
finished. Yeah. I move that we stay virtual for the next, what, do we have to commit to 12 months?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So we have a motion that we stay virtual for the next 12 months. Can I get a second? Randy,
second motion.
And any other comments or questions?
Well, I'd like to amend the motion that we go virtual unless hybrid becomes available. And then we choose that option.
That works. Does that work for you, Kenny?
Yeah, absolutely.
I will back down to our, we got a thumbs up from our second. All right. Any other comments, questions? Okay, we'll do a quick roll call. Randy Warren.
Aye.
Kenny Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Katz. Might have lost Pat. Bill Loftus.
Aye.
Leanna Joyner.
Aye.
And Jack Hagelman.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. The motion carries. Thanks, everyone. Next item is determination of the date for our combined November-December meeting. This is something we tend to do every year. Jessica is currently recommending maybe December 7th or December 14th. Jessica, do you have some more info?
No, this is just because our meetings happen basically right in the same time frame as Thanksgiving and Christmas time for November, December. So we've typically had a combo November, December meeting that we do in early December. Either one of those dates, especially if we're doing virtual, is open for us to accommodate. So we just thought, and honestly, it doesn't have to be either of those dates. We just thought keeping it on a Wednesday might work better, but we're open to other suggested times or dates if neither of these work for you guys.
Yeah, the December 7th date works for me. Anyone else have any input? Randy?
Joe did say in the message when he said he couldn't come today, he said that on the 7th there's a PZC meeting on the first floor of the conference room. So if we decided to go in person, that'd be booked from 4:30. But he would be at that meeting then from 4:30. So he couldn't make anything after 4:30 on the 7th.
All right. Any other comments or input, opinions?
I unfortunately don't think I'll be able to make any late November or December meeting at all because of some travel, but I'm still interested in being active into the future.
All righty. Well, since Joe can't do the 7th, 14th, I have something, but I think we can just make that, I can potentially move it. Yeah, so, and if I can't, we can always have someone step in too. So should we shoot for the 14th?
Actually, I just realized I can't come the 14th, but if the majority of people can, that's fine. I can come the 7th, but not the 14th. So, and since I was here at this one and Joe wasn't able to be, I'm totally fine working around his schedule.
I think Joe can make it up till 4:30. I'm not sure if he would do. That's an in-person meeting, and this is a remote, so maybe remote up until 4:30 too. But
all right, well, let's shoot for the 7th, and we can kind of get Joe for partial time. Does that work? Any other comments? All right, let's get a. Do you need a motion? Are we good?
No, I don't think we need to make anything official. We'll just make sure that we communicate that with the clerk's office and get it advertised appropriately.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so next item is the consideration of the appointment of Philip Lucero to the Transit Committee. Jessica.
Sure, and this is an action item. I forgot to note that, but we have an applicant for the Transit Committee, Mr. Philip Lucero, and the Transit Committee met last week, and they voted unanimously to forward his application to the Multimodal Commission for your consideration. And they recommended that the Multimodal Commission appoint Mr. Lucero, and his application is attached for your reference.
Thank you. Any comments? Clearly, just going through the document, the application, I mean, he has a lot of interest and experience in our system, and that's fantastic. That's exactly what we need. I think someone that understands how the system works and has a keen eye to maybe identify where we can sharpen the pencil a little bit too. So it looks like an outstanding find, and I support this wholeheartedly. Any other comments? Without
I
comment?
agree as well.
Excellent. And Pat, would you care to make a motion?
I'd make a motion that we accept Philip Lucero to the Transit Committee.
Excellent. Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Kenny. Any other comments or questions? Without comment, we'll do a roll call vote. Randy Warren.
Aye.
Kenny Armstrong.
Aye.
Pat Katz. Bill Loftus.
Aye.
Leanna Joyner.
Hi.
And Jack Hagelman.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Outstanding. The next item is the review and consideration for the proposed right-of-way closure of the unopened right-of-way on Clayton Avenue, adjacent to 77 Hazel Avenue, to rectify an error in the original plat that locates Clayton Avenue south of its true location. Jessica.
Thank you. So it's been a little while since we've had a right-of-way closure before you guys, and this one I think is relatively straightforward. And we do have a representative of the applicant here today in case there are any questions, but I will go ahead and just give you guys an overview. So this really boils down to trying to fix an error on an original plat from a long time ago. And so we're not actually closing any open and right away that's being used actively in any way. And this is related, the applicant is actually the Buncombe County Rescue Squad. They have petitioned for the closure. They own the property that is adjacent to this. And again, they're trying to rectify an error that was made on the original plat. And the error essentially says that Clayton Avenue is in a slightly different location than it actually is. So this is what it looks like. The parcel here in the center is Buncombe County Rescue's parcel. They also own the building just to the north of Clayton Avenue with the white roof that you can see. And so the plat says that Clayton Avenue is actually in the orange area, but as you can see, the actual roadway is not. So we are just trying to rectify that and make everything line up. And we did look at this at the Technical Review Committee earlier this month, and the recommendation from the city staff department, including Water Department, MSD, Transportation, Development Services, was to recommend that the Multimodal Commission approve the request and that we move it onto the City Council. So the proposed motion for your consideration today is to recommend City Council approve the requested closure for a portion of the right-of-way on Clayton Avenue adjacent to 77 Hansel to rectify an error on the original plat that locates Clayton Avenue south of its true location. I am happy to answer any questions, and we also have Troy Shriver here who is representing the applicant if there are any questions.
Thanks, Jessica. Randy?
It seems like the only question would be, and since they own the property on both sides of the road, is that if someone was going to be impacted by having the road be where it is. But it's a moot point, correct? Right? They own the property on both sides, and that'd be the only thing that would be technically taking away, because the road's there, takes away from the property that it's on. But since, right, the city claims that property at this point, right, and so it's not actually anybody's property. So it seems like it's a moot point.
Yeah, I think so. I think I follow what you're saying. It's not, and I think like they've been, it hasn't impacted like the tax roll or anything, for example. I think that it's really just an issue with the plat. I don't think that the parcel has been recorded as being smaller than it actually is, although I don't know that for sure. But I think for all practical purposes, this is really not, it should have no impact to anybody, but it's just clearing up their documentation and their titles and et cetera moving forward for them. Troy, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, like Jessica just said, this is clearing up a title issue. Like she said, Plat Book 2 at 78 was done in 1917. And the plat, the vesting deeds reference this old plat. And when we went out to survey it, we discovered that there are other plats of record that show Clayton Road in its true location. Unfortunately, because the vesting deed called for this old plat, there was an error. They don't have what you call title to that area that is unclaimed. And so there are multiple ways you can do that. One of them is a quit claim, but we had a meeting with Jessica and Brad Branham. I think I said that last name right, the city attorney. And just to clear up all future title issues that may arise, they suggested going through the official right-of-way closure.
Thanks, Troy. Elizabeth?
Yes, I was just looking it up because I really wasn't familiar with what we were talking about, and it looks like it's adjacent to the Asheville Outdoor Center. I'm just curious if there's anybody, will this change affect any residences or businesses around there? Anybody opposed to this that we don't know about?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I don't think that, again, I think there's zero practical, there's nothing that could come out of this that I could anticipate, because the land that we're talking about that's in that orange area, like if you were driving by it, you would have no idea that was supposedly per a 1917 title, that was where Clayton Road was supposed to be. Or no, it wasn't even supposed to be there. It was just incorrectly noted, I guess, in the original plat. So there's no impact to any adjacent properties. The only properties that had to sign an affidavit to agree to the closure are the Buncombe County Rescue Squad that owns the parcels that are adjacent to it. So I see no issues or potential conflicts with this one. It's just kind of a weird one, but it's not completely abnormal, because we are seeing more of these, I'll just call them errors, and plats that were done 100+ years ago, that we now have to kind of deal with on a case-by-case basis.
Leanna?
I feel comfortable approving or making a motion about the closure.
Great. You want to throw that up there, Jessica?
Oh, sorry. Yep.
Thank you.
Here we go.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend City Council to approve the requested closure for a portion of the right-of-way on Clayton Avenue adjacent to 77 Hansel to rectify an error on the original plat that locates Clayton Avenue south of its true location.
Thank you. And can I get a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Pat. Any other comments or questions? Without further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Randy Warren?
Aye.
Kenny Armstrong?
Aye.
Pat Katz?
Aye.
Bill Loftus?
Aye.
Leanna Joyner?
Aye.
Jack Agelman?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you very much. Thanks, Troy, for your time. Okay, our next item is, okay, the next item is the SMART Grant Program discussion. So this is an item that came to us from Bill. It was through his kind of network, transportation network contacts that floated this to us. There was some kind of brief discussion with staff, and we're running into, it's a pretty quick timeline. Anything that we would do would be due November 18th. So that's very, very quick. But it is something that Bill was interested in kind of introducing, and also making sure to, we want to kind of get it some sunlight, so that this, as it reoccurs over the next coming years, we can hopefully participate in this. I'm just trying this explanation of this in this grant process, so we can potentially fund something that the transit folks have been kicking around, which is the micro hub concept for our city. Bill, can you give a little more background on that, just to make it cleaner than what I just did?
Sure, happy to. So I'll start it a different way. We had our retreat last year, and we talked about what our priorities were going to be. And one of the four is for us to prioritize preferred pedestrian streets, right? Everybody remembers that. And an urban micro hub is part of a preferred pedestrian solution. The biggest problem with preferred pedestrian streets are the trucks. Business deliveries. How do you deliver to a business if the trucks have to get in the way? And there's various ways to do it. They're all complicated and difficult. And we've actually heard in our meetings that I've attended in the last year now of places where we run into things where we have to compromise on our pedestrian landscape because of business deliveries. I know we had a very specific example on Walnut Street when we were talking to the Downtown Commission about that. They wanted to make Walnut Street a pedestrian street, but no, the antique store down at the corner required business deliveries, trucks, and so we couldn't make it that way. I think I heard similar things about the Biltmore Avenue redesign. There were certain loading requirements that may have compromised some design choices. So, and when I first came upon this as an idea for Asheville, is in a meeting with Kim Roney where I introduced it. We ever thought about this, and it's the first time she'd heard about it. But her comment to me was, Bill, if we can figure out a way to manage business deliveries without trucks, then I can assure you that Asheville would be interested in that, because we have always tried to make our streets more accessible, and the trucks get in the way. But she didn't use those words, but that's how I took it. So I want to start with that as background. So now you're wondering, what is an urban microhub? And I'll just read off the email I sent to Dennis and Kim about maybe making this part of the agenda today. Microhubs eliminate freight and delivery traffic from selected city streets where trucks get replaced with something much smaller, like an electric delivery cycles. It's basically a handoff operation, and it's a traditional logistics concept. But the result is the cleaner streets, better pedestrian access to and around businesses. That allows them to increase their business revenue, tax revenue. It reduces vehicle emissions. It enhances the climate. It reduces noise. It improves safety. It increases jobs. It enhances equity. All those are outcomes of an urban microhub solution. Now, we don't see them often. They're relatively new in kind of their current form, because now there's technology available and collaboration models that are becoming preeminent that kind of allow the configurations to be designed. They're being piloted and deployed in various places around the world. If you Google into the University of Washington's Urban Freight Lab, you can see an example of a pilot that they implemented last year in Seattle, and successfully. So it's probably more common in Europe than it is in the United States, but you can see examples of other municipalities piloting and exploring with these kind of programs. So that's all background. The thing that's new right now is that money has become available through the infrastructure bill that was passed last year. I was made aware of this through one of my network associates or colleagues, as Dennis mentioned. She was familiar with a program I did with Georgia Tech's senior design project for their master's class, which utilized a concept like this. And she said, and I mentioned to her that I was trying to find something like this out. And she said, she advised me that the money is part of the SMART funds. And she said, y'all be ready for it, because when this comes out, you really have a fairly small window of time to apply for the money, but the money is simply to get funding to approve a solution design. And so now the money's available. So the new thing right now is there's money available. So I'm bringing this to group because we've agreed on this as a priority, preferred streets, pedestrian preferred streets. This is, without a doubt, part of what can solve the constraints around pedestrian streets. And so I think we would be remiss by not going for the money. We are always told we don't have enough money. Well, it's available. We just need to go gather the resources, apply, and hopefully be successful. So that's kind of a little bit of the background. I'll also say new solutions are being worked out, but it's an old problem, and that's oftentimes not solved. And the local story I'll tell you is my wife is familiar with the historical workings of the Asheville Design Group that many of you are probably familiar with, local architects and planners who've been working on urban planning for 30 plus years. And she tells me that this problem has always existed. They've always sought out solutions. But persistent. Well, what's new now is we've got money available to solve it. There's pilots and deployments out there that have solved it. And it's a way we could solve some of our problems. So what I brought to the party today is that I'd like us to make the suggestion to make a motion to City Council for them to authorize resources to secure this funding. So that's my 2 cents, Dennis.
Thanks, Bill. You explained that so much better than I was fumbling through. Randy?
I mean, Bill, you focus on the pedestrian impact, but it's a huge impact on the bike lane installation in the downtown area. And then Biltmore was basically nixed because one specific business, but maybe some other ones as well, said that they weren't happy with having a traffic lane removed that they were using as a loading zone illegally. And so that got nixed at this point in time, denied me put in. And then the College and Patton bike lanes also too had to be reconfigured because of loading zone issues too. So this is a step to eliminating the need for those type of loading zones to be active. And certainly sometimes I think, if it's a huge large item that can't be used by a motorized electric, bicycle cargo truck or something like that, they might need to get in once in a while, but on an ongoing basis, so many aspects of their deliveries can be covered without the need to have a big truck go into the loading zone. So I think it also fits that part of our strategic plan or our recognized goals that we had as a multimodal too in having a connected bike network. Because if we can eliminate the need for as many loading zones to be in place, then that also helps facilitate the bike network.
Thanks, Randy. And I could add to, the way Bill explained it, I think is exactly how I, understood it and how he explained it to me. There is one caveat that, we're always saying we're short on cash, but we have this really serious issue with staffing. And that's one of the challenges that we've had kind of going forward is we just didn't have the folks. And, Jessica's team is kind of getting back to right size, and that's good. That hire that she just told us about earlier is great. But one of the challenges that we have is trying to figure out how we can respond to, these kind of quick hits or opportunities that, have a quickly closing window. Jessica, did you have anything to kind of add or comment on this?
Sure. I'll just say, I firstly appreciate Bill bringing this up and talking through it with everybody. And I 100% love the idea and really want to work on it. Our challenge, of course, is a staffing perspective. Even though I now technically have full staff, we still, I think, are short to do all the things that are on our plate, which is never something that I like to say. I like to be able to attack all of these great opportunities. We have been over the last several months with the city manager's office working to develop a organizational work program as well as department work program. And organizational work program items are I don't want to say the most important of the organization, because I think there are a lot of things that our department and others are doing that don't show up on the organizational work plan, but they're the items that I think are larger in scale, involve multiple departments, involve outside organizations or partnerships. And then our department has 4 items on the organizational work program that we are leading, and this is not one of them because it wasn't something that was really in the hopper. But we've got 2 transit items, and we've got a parking item, and we've got implementation of the GAP plan as one of our organizational work program projects. I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know that we can apply for this year, but this is something that we can start to have conversations about adding to our work program for the following year to try to be ready for it when the next round comes out. So this is part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and we expect them to release $100 million each year for the next 5 years for this program specifically. So my goal would be to be teed up and ready to submit something for next year. But I also completely appreciate what Bill's saying, is trying to take advantage of these opportunities when we can.
Thanks. Jack?
Yeah, Bill, I think it's a super cool idea. And I'm wondering, would you mind putting in the chat a link to what you think is a good model of what that could look like? I'm still trying to get my head around, potentially how it would work. And I'm always thinking in terms of Haywood Road, in which I'm always trapped behind a delivery truck once or twice a day. And so I'm trying to get a handle on, what would that look like? And that could be really exciting for that place. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Very cool concept, it sounds like to me.
Jack, I'll try. I've never popped anything into the chat. So, but yeah, I'll go see if I can find that website for the Urban Freight Lab. There's others, but my caution is don't think that one example is the model. It's a concept that hands off packages to electric delivery cycles. So they can be all types of things. The one I worked on personally was for a parcel delivery solution for a neighborhood, for example. The interest there was emissions reduction. Just get the delivery trucks off the road, so that imagine Amazon and UPS dropping off at at a big spot that gets rehandled into electric bikes. That was the objective on that one. The one in Seattle was more of a community center that included the urban micro hub as part of its solution. So the neat thing about going for the money in this way is that it requires sort of a ground up stakeholder consensus building effort. What do we really need? It's a multi-year kind of thing to come up with kind of piloted examples and so forth. So I'll venture to say we would never accomplish something like this on our own without money. We need modelers, we need tech help, we need consultants to run a process, all that kind of stuff. So, but I'll see if I can get the Urban Freight Lab popped up here in the chat box, and that'll be a live example of one anyway.
Hey, Bill, it looks like there's a couple that have, I think Jessica found one and maybe Randy found one as well. So it looks like maybe those links will be in there and part of our minutes as well. And it's, I was in New York last weekend, and I saw this almost identical plan being put in place by Amazon, where they had a staging area, a truck opened up, packages everywhere, and this row of bikes and bicyclists picking these things up and taking them to the neighborhood. And it didn't appear as though that was the first time they'd done it. It was a pretty well-oiled operation, and it just looked, it's not exactly the same application for us, but I think there are, this concept I think is maturing day by day, and I think it's really exciting for us. Any other comments or questions on this? Kenny.
Yeah, it seems like this hits a number of goals that align with things that we're trying to move forward. If you get more people on the streets on bikes, it normalizes it and becomes more of an everyday thing, and that leads to more investment in bicycle infrastructure, and that's usually a good thing. But it sounds like it also helps people who are walking, and it helps people who are driving by getting these big trucks out of downtown, while ticking off some of our environmental goals as well. So it seems like a no-brainer to pursue it. If we need to wait for the next cycle, so be it. Sounds like the time frame for this cycle is pretty close, but I fully support making a recommendation for council to consider moving ahead at their own speed.
Thanks, Kenny. Randy?
Yeah, so regardless, I think that we're a philosophical group in some ways, with practical applications. So I think that we should go ahead and approve a motion to put this in front of city council, and if they determine or the city staff determines that they can't do it now, that's up to them. But as Bill has had a conversation with us offline before, saying that it's our job as a multimodal transportation commission to advocate for the things that make a difference in our community. And this is something that can make a difference in our community with financing attached to it. So we should recommend it, and whether it gets approved or not by council is up to them. But our job is to make those recommendations.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you, Randy. Any other comments or questions? Bill, would you care to make a motion?
Sure. Can you bring it up so I can read it? I make a motion to recommend to City Council to authorize and prioritize resources to apply for a SMART grant for the purpose of funding a multi-year planning process to develop and implement urban micro hubs for selected streets in Asheville within the next, I'll say, 5 years.
Excellent, thank you. Can I get a second? Randy?
I'll second that.
Perfect. Without further comment or question, we'll do a vote. Let me get my list here. Randy Warren.
Aye.
Kenny Armstrong.
I as well.
Pat Katz.
Aye.
Bill Loftus.
I'll abstain.
Leanna Joyner.
Aye.
Jack Ackerman.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Bill. That was a great find, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we can take advantage of this opportunity.
Can I just add, Bill, thank you for the work finding this solution and bringing it forward. And encouraging us to look into it and think about it and make a motion. I think it's such an Asheville friendly kind of initiative. So I'm happy that we're helping move it forward.
You're here. Okay, our next item, we're going to move into unfinished business. Jessica, do you want to pull anything out of here? Should we go down the list? What do you prefer?
Dennis, Randy's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Randy. You want to speak before Jessica?
I want to give Jessica a chance, obviously, to highlight anything she wants to in that, but I know that at the last meeting, 2 months ago now, congratulations, Jessica, that you're full staff. We really appreciate that. And I know you do way more than we do because you have more help doing things. But I think I've mentioned before that I'm going to bring up the bike share status study every meeting just because that's something that has been on off the burner for a long time. And over and over, we keep seeing things. Just, for example, like the last motion we just made too, the e-bikes is going to be a huge portion of transportation alternatives in multiple communities around the world, and especially here in Asheville, where we've got topography considerations stuff too, and a bike share with an e-bike component is super huge. So I just want to keep that in the forefront of every single meeting. And I know that all your full staff, you've got a huge backlog of things that you need to get to in that. So I don't want us to ever have this be something that we don't think about on an ongoing basis, because we basically have a study complete. It wouldn't take that much to get it approved and go. We spent a lot of money on the study, and so the sooner the better.
It's definitely top of mind, Randy. Now that Lucy's going to have her full division, we did just hire a transit projects coordinator who will start in a couple weeks. That our Haley Burton, who has been our transit projects coordinator, is moving over to urban planner with Lucy's division. Haley's going to be training that new person who starts in a couple weeks on all things transit, and then she'll be able to fully dedicate herself to planning, transportation planning. And this is one of the items that I would like to focus on getting done.
Are there any other items on that list that you want to go through? Anything where there's any updates?
I don't think so on this list. I will mention that we are having some more conversations with business owners on College and Patton, and speaks very much in line to what Bill's talking about, is concerns over loading and deliveries and how that impacts our initiatives and goals for moving multimodal transportation forward. So we're trying to have some more conversations with folks. Also, same with Biltmore. And I will say that we met with DOT last week, I think it was, talked a little bit about Biltmore and the request to have the speed limit reduced south of Aston. And they are actively looking at that and communicating with Raleigh on it, and seem confident that that is something that can be accomplished. And also on the note of the repaving, I'm not going to bring up Merriman, but the rest of that overall project looks like it's probably going to happen next spring, given that we're already starting to get into colder weather. So I don't believe that the downtown portion of repaving US 25 is going to be happening this calendar year, but their goal is to get the Merriman related repaving north of I-240 done by the end of November.
Okay, and that is currently happening now. There's a lot of things happening on Merriman. Nothing's done, and it's a lot of moving parts. So I think we all have some little patience and see how this thing comes out. I think we'll all be much better for it. Randy?
I'm sorry, Jessica. So I had heard that they may not repave the part south of the portion that's been reduced to a 3-lane with bike lanes. Is that not accurate? I heard that they may just get that much done, and then the part that they're repaving south of W.C. Weaver would not be done. Is that not accurate?
Well, that's not my understanding, but that doesn't mean that I'm 100% in the know. I did hear this morning that DOT is working on trying to put together some more communication about the schedule. So you could be right, Randy, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of lack of communication going on in the whole project. So it's kind of like you hear a bit and piece of a conversation and you're hoping that might be accurate, but yeah. So.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, I just want to say as a positive notice things that are going on from the neighborhood perspective. I noticed that they're drawing in the bike lanes on that part near the French Broad River Park heading towards AB Tech, and assuming they're going to finish that up to Biltmore Avenue. They've redone the road between, what is that, Meadow or Amboy? Meadow.
Yes, Meadow.
Yeah, so that was really exciting because I ride my bike on that road and it is halfway safer now, hoping the rest will be soon. And from the neighborhood, the Oakley neighborhood in particular, there were some traffic calming things put in on Stoner Road, which is one of the cut throughs from Fairview down to the river. And that has been very much appreciated. So, yeah.
Piece by piece.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's go into committee updates. Get a transit update. Bill, do y'all have a meeting?
Yes, we did.
Excellent.
I didn't realize I had to present. So, yeah, let's see. Hold on.
Okay, Bill, I can't remember either.
We did have a meeting to answer you. You see all the reports. Let me find my. If you can come back to me, let me find my notes.
Of course, yes. We'll go skip over to the Greenway folks. Can we get an update from our Greenway team?
Yeah. We've gone back to in-person meetings. We meet above the fire station downtown near Pack Square. So if anybody wants to join us, we talked a little bit about the aesthetics committee ongoing work for the I-26 project, looking at lighting along the trails and making sure that things are consistent with that. They had a ribbon cutting for the French Broad River West Greenway, which is pretty exciting. I don't know if anybody's been out there. Good stuff. Hopefully those bridges will get fixed and we can have a nice complete circle at some point. But we also, Sunny Carr has been a long-term member and she is cycling off. So if you know anybody who's interested in applying to be on the Greenway Committee, I think we're going to be accepting applications soon.
Excellent, thank you. Randy, bike ped?
Yeah, we had a bike ped meeting last week. It was really great because Ken Putman was there to talk about bike lane maintenance, and it was great to have a discussion. And we made sure we didn't want to just have a report about what the city does with bike lane maintenance because it's not really adequate right now. And it was great. Ken was really interested in the things we brought up, and he and Anna were both there, and we worked in collaboration to identify some specific issues, and we could look at how we can make things better in the short term, and how we can. Sometimes things are related to NCDOT, and sometimes they're just the city things, and all sorts of different things. Even new operational aspects of like street sweepers that don't always seem like they're working very well. To try and figure out things like that they might be sweeping the bike lanes with street sweepers, and it's not actually doing the job it's supposed to. So it was a very robust discussion, and we identified lots of action items that Ken and Anna are looking at to try and make the facilities that we're building usable. Because a lot of times, we build great facilities, and if people aren't feeling comfortable using them, then it's kind of a waste of time and money. And that's one thing too, for sure. Like some people feel most comfortable on a separated lane, sometimes feel comfortable on a bike lane, some people feel comfortable on a shared lane, and sometimes they feel comfortable with no specific accommodations. But we have to have facilities for all types of users, and the more we make things feel safe on facilities that are designed for people that aren't so comfortable mixing with traffic, then that's the better for getting more people on bikes. So it was a great discussion on that. And again, we're hoping to continue to work on those actionable items that make a real difference in terms of things we can do now, as well as planning for the future. And the other thing is that Kenny thinks we're actually going to come, some people from the bike fed to the next Greenway meeting as well, to see how we can work more collaboratively with the Greenway Committee on a lot of our shared interests.
Yeah, I think there was some discussion about merging the Bike Ped Task Force with the Greenway Committee. So that, look for that on the horizon. One specific action item that came up in our meeting was the terminus of the French Broad River East Greenway, right by a White Duck Taco, just kind of blurts you out onto the sidewalk and does not directly connect you to the bike lane on the road. So we brought that up as an issue where, you know, if you're in the bike lane on the road and you want to hop onto the Greenway, you have to go through the parking lot under the bridge to get there rather than the actual terminus of the trail. So hopefully the city will be looking into that and fixing that promptly.
Yeah, that's such a great, Woodland Dyke Lake Greenway is such a great facility, but both ends have issues too. So the Amboy and there's that issues too, because not only is the sidewalk over the Amboy Bridge too narrow, or they're not really sidewalks, the wide curb is going to be fixed, and NCDOT is going to put a 5-foot sidewalk in there, which will help. But trying to get onto Meadow, for example, is a huge issue, and crossing from Meadow onto Lyman, either in the bike lane there or some people are sticking on the sidewalk. That's still a messy intersection too, but again, the city's committed to helping us work with NCDOT, because it's an NCDOT intersection, to make that better. But both ends of that have got still issues. But at least people are working with us on things and aren't just washing their hands of it. Something.
And if anybody bumps into somebody on the aesthetics committee, give them a round of applause, because that team's been working for years on this project. The most recent thing that was brought to our attention was the massive retaining wall that's going up right adjacent to the sidewalk along Riverside Drive, and trying to get a little bit of landscape buffering between the sidewalk and the retaining wall, so you're not just hugging a giant concrete wall as you're walking. It might make it a little bit more attractive. So it's those little nudges that DOT needs to just, get their project that much better. So they're doing a lot of good work. And our rep is Mike Zukowski. He's on the Greenway Committee, and he's kind of reports diligently about his work on the aesthetics committee. So keep them in mind. They're doing a lot of good work.
Outstanding. Thank you. The next is a NAC update. Elizabeth?
Yes, I think I actually jumped the gun a little bit when I was talking earlier about some of the things happening in neighborhoods. Obviously, the big talk in the neighborhoods are two things. One is Merriman Avenue, which I won't go into. Just a lot of neighborhood chat, lots of input, lots of, it seems to be a half and half mix of compliments and frustration. And then what I mentioned around the other bike lane possibilities. I think one of the biggest things that comes up in the Neighborhood Advisory Council is sort of how things get prioritized, which neighborhoods, which areas of the city get prioritized, and those that are not prioritized, the south and east as much. So that is a continuing equity issue that gets brought up, and people say, where are we in line for this? Where are we in line for that? But overall, they actually had I wasn't able to attend Monday night because I had to teach, but they had an in-person retreat. I think it was the first in-person meeting that they had in a couple of years. So they are jumping on that bandwagon.
Outstanding. Thank you. Bill, we'll head back up to you to give us a transit.
Yeah, thanks for the flexibility. Yeah, we did have a meeting. We talked about the new member, which we've just voted on in this meeting. We decided to continue meeting remotely. We decided on meeting dates around the holidays. There were two big items on the agenda that we discussed. One was there's a route recommendation for transit W5. W5 runs a loop going west from the from the downtown. In its route, it has to kind of go out to Hill Street and circle and service the Hillcrest community, and then it gets back on Patton, I think it is, to go further west. The recommendation from staff was to drop part of that route because of a couple things. Number one, it has almost zero, if not exactly zero, riders. So we've been driving past this stop. They gave several months of data, and I recall seeing zeros on the ridership on that particular stop. So it's an unused part of the route. And the other thing is that because of its location and its need on an unpredictable street, Patton, it can have on-time delivery issues as well. So we have this unused area, and we also have poor service for the rest of the riders on that route. Now, that's not the only route that goes past those stops. There are two other routes that service those stops on a daily basis. So in the current world, we have 3 buses an hour that satisfy the riders who might be at that stop. If we accept the proposal, and we did, then there's 2 per hour that get service. So technically it's a reduction of service, but the reality is it doesn't have any users in the first place. So anyway, that was it in a nutshell. Jessica, if I have bastardized that description, then please adjust. But we agreed that it made sense to drop that portion of that route. So that was one other big thing. Jessica, I'll stop. Anything else you want to add to that or correct?
The only thing I would correct is that I think we decided not to approve it quite yet. We were going to go back and do try to do some outreach and put some notices out at that stop to see if there is anybody that's using it, and it also impacts a couple of stops after that as well. So we're going to try to get some public input, and then we would come back to you guys at your next meeting for, I guess, a final decision.
Thanks for that. That's an important addition. And then I've been working on objectives on signage and communication. So that was informative for the group. So that's it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. Please note our list of projects that are attached and our future agenda items. If you want anything to be added to the future agenda items, just reach out and we can get that added. Our meeting will be December 7th, potentially. We'll get notification, let us know that. We'll do a group meeting for November, December, and we'll be in good shape. Without any other comment or question, we can adjourn. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dennis. Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
I know. Thanks all.
See ya. Welcome, Jack.
Yeah, welcome, Jack.